What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. To the new subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome. Man, it has been a wild 24 to 48 hours ever since I released that video on the Wizard Liz. So many of y'all had so much to say, great comments, whether they were negative, whether they were positive. I welcome it all because when you put yourself out there, this is what comes with the territory. So I openly welcome the disagreements. But before I get into today's video, I want to let you guys know, last video, if you would like to work with Tim and myself, lock a time in now because June is here. Tim and I, like I said, we are raising prices 1000%, and it's going to be super expensive for most people to work with us because, as I stated, Tim and I, we don't give the typical relationship SP advice that you hear on YouTube from the law of assumption community because, quite frankly, it's much more nuanced than people talk about, and that's part of what today's video is going to be about. So again, if you want to get in at a more convenient price, contact us now. I am also offering one-on-one stuff with just myself, but it will not be as in-depth as it would be if you were to join the program that Tim and I are doing together. As well as I will offer you stuff that has nothing to do with SP stuff or relationship stuff or whatever the case. Contact me. I want to talk to y'all now about some of these comments I've been receiving because some of you guys have left some great comments talking about the subconscious mind. You don't need to heal. But first order of business, I want to address the gaslighting from the Neville Goddard community. A lot of y'all in the Neville Goddard community. Not all of y'all, because I know a lot of y'all are sane and can comprehend things logically more so than others. So kudos to you. But to those of you that can't, this part is directed to you. So many of you out there love saying, all you have to do is assume. If you assume the wish fulfilled, you don't have to heal. You don't have to do any shadow work. You don't have to do anything. All the Wizard Liz has to do is assume, but she didn't assume. Part of what irritates me with the law of assumption community, you guys think this is so easy. When you tell people in the comments, all you have to do is assume, do you understand how hard that is? Telling people, oh, just assume. You think people aren't trying to actively assume or actively affirm? You think people aren't doing that? If it was that easy from a common sense perspective, think about it. Don't you think there would be way more people in this community that already have manifested what they wanted? It would be over 50% success rate. You would have so many people in this community already having their desires. There would be no need to watch videos about it. There would be no need for coaching. We would literally be out of business if assuming was so easy as y'all make it sound. The truth is, assuming or doing affirmations, it's not easy for most people. And the reason it's not easy for most people, I think you guys are missing the point. The main point with assuming and doing affirmations. And that main point is, if you're not believing your assumptions, then they really mean nothing. Just like if you're not believing your affirmations, they really mean nothing. But that's why repetition is repeated in this community. And that's why you hear so many people say in the beginning, you don't have to believe, because eventually repetition is going to make you believe. But the problem with doing any assumption or technique, the 80-20 rule or the 90-10 rule, what do I mean by that? 10% of the time to 20% of the time, you are doing your affirmation or your assumption or whatever the case might be. But for the rest of the time throughout the day, that other 80% or 90% of the time, you are mulling over the fact that you don't have whatever it is that you are affirming for or assuming. So from a common sense perspective, we see the numbers. How are you going to expect to get real change when only 10% of the time you are speaking and thinking positively, but the other 90% of the time or 80% of the time throughout the day, you're still mulling over negativity? 80 to 90% of negativity is what's dominating. That's what's going to keep you back. That's what's going to still manifest. And what I'm getting ready to show you is this person who made a great post about this on TikTok with this Wizard Liz situation. And here's the post. If you want to read some great comments on this situation, go to my TikTok page and click on the video, because pretty much 99% of the people are agreeing with what I'm saying, but the comments are great and giving some great insight. You see, this content creator is responding to this comment that said, it broke my heart. I can't trust men these days. And then this content creator, Fra, I guess that's how you say her name, she goes on to say, I disagree with you. She was preaching manifestation while assuming that men are trash. I like a lot of the things the Wizard Liz said in her videos, but most of her affirmations and assumptions about men were negative. And it's no surprise that she attracted Landon. Not blaming her for Landon's behavior, he definitely was trash. But that's what she thought of men in the first place, and that's the type of man she got. Mic drop. This woman was spot on with everything she just said in that paragraph. And I agree with what she said. I actually do take a liking to some of the stuff Liz says. She kind of reminds me of a female version of Andrew Tate.
Amazing. What a wonderful guy. But did he tell his mom as well that he's dating 10 other girls at the same time? Listen, I'm tired of this, okay? And I am gonna show you guys in this video how to stop accepting the bare minimum. It is done. We as women need to do better because these men are becoming spoiled. Hi guys, my name is Liz and welcome back to my channel. Okay, first things first, we are gonna start doing is having expectations for men. Men have so many expectations for women, okay? You're supposed to carry this child, you're supposed to be a virgin as well, you're supposed to be very beautiful, you're supposed to never age, you're supposed to literally do everything he wants, you're supposed to be his personal therapist, nanny, cleaner, chef, everything.
And there's only one of three reasons that anyone on this planet would ever be poor. You're either lazy, you are arrogant, or you are stupid. Now, we'll start with lazy. Most of you are lazy. In fact, I'd say basically all of you are lazy. You don't understand what work is. You don't understand what work ethic is. You don't understand the ethos of conquer Earth. You don't have fire blood. You don't wake up to go piss at 3:32 a.m. and go, I'm not going back to sleep because I want to make some fucking money. So you're all lazy. You're all arrogant. Because when I sit here as the richest person who's ever fucking wasted his time talking to your fucking dumbass and tells you what to do, you don't fucking listen to me. Oh, well, Tate, you know, maybe he's wrong about, you're broke. How can I be wrong? When you're in the poor category and I'm in the rich category, I obviously know something you fucking don't, you arrogant dickhead.
That type of bravado that people like Liz or Andrew Tate or whoever else, that type of bravado doesn't bother me. I'm not offended when I hear people like them speak or give their opinions. But also, too, a lot of times I know that people are just putting on entertainment for the camera. But this woman was spot on. She was preaching manifestation while simultaneously having the assumption that men are trash. Men are trash was her predominant belief. So no matter how much she might have said in some of her videos that there are good men out there, her predominant belief was still that men are trash. So subconsciously, this goes back to what I was saying about the 90-10 rule or the 80-20 rule. So 10% of the time, 20% of the time, she would think to herself, or she's saying, or this is what she might be doing this unconsciously, but this is what's going on. She's saying that there are nice men out there. There are good guys, but you only think that 10% of the time. You only mull over that 20% of the time. But the dominating thought throughout your day or throughout your days and weeks and months and years has been that all men are trash and you speak negatively about men. And so that's what's most likely going to manifest. So like this woman said, I'm not surprised she attracted Landon. And I agree 1,000,000%. I'm not blaming her for Landon's behavior because this also brings up a point where somebody just commented on the video and they asked me this particular question. They said, this situation has happened to me multiple times. Am I creating this with them treating me this way, or did I just attract them, or is it both? And my answer simply was, it's kind of both, but it's not evenly both. It is more so 90% that you just attracted somebody who treated you that way. That's where you got to take the accountability, is in being a vibrational match, being a subconscious match to somebody of that caliber that would treat you that way. That's where it's your responsibility. But as far as their behavior, no, them treating you that way, no, I don't believe that it's your fault that they treated you that way. I believe that you were attracted to those traits in that person for whatever subconscious reason, and that that person that's treating you bad, they probably have done this to multiple people in the past before they met you. And then you were the next victim and you became a vibrational match. And that's what unfolded. But it's not because, oh, you manifested them treating you that way. I've said this in past videos. Do you really think people are manifesting themselves getting beat when they're in physically abusive relationships? Nobody's manifesting that. Nobody wakes up every day and says, oh, I want to get beat today. What happened is you became a vibrational match to somebody who, no matter what you do or say, is going to put their hands on you. So this is what I was talking about before in other videos that I've made and stuff about the gaslighting from people in the Neville community, saying things like, oh, they're treating you this way because it's your assumption or this is what you're doing. And to me, that's not necessarily the case, because as I've always said religiously, this LOA stuff is so nuanced, contrary to what the Neville Goddard community, a lot of them try to make it sound like. Now, it could 100% be your fault if they're treating you a certain way based on your behavior, because your behavior towards somebody can definitely make them treat you a certain way or say certain things to you. So that's something that you also got to take into account as well. And I don't know each individual person's situation, but that's why I say it can potentially be your fault, but not be your fault. And like I said in my last video, behind the scenes, we don't know how any of these people are as real people, real human beings. Behind the scenes, we don't know how Liz acts in her relationship. Me making that first video that I made about this situation really gave me insight on how toxic some of her stuff really was and how people stopped watching her because of some of the toxic stuff that she said. And you can read the comments on some of my videos, but I heard that she broke up with somebody, and I don't know if this is true or not, and some of you guys that have watched her stuff can confirm, but I heard that she broke up with somebody because they didn't open a car door for her or something. Somebody left a comment saying that. And I thought to myself, that's insane. I understand you want royal treatment or whatever and have standards, but that's insane. People have also left comments explaining the situation with her dad, I guess, because like I said, I haven't really watched her content. I've watched some videos, but not a ton. Apparently, her dad wasn't really in her life because he cheated on her mom however many years ago. So the more people began to tell me about Liz's life in the comments, because again, she speaks about it all the time on her channel, I guess, or whatever she preaches. And that's the reason I'm talking about this video right now, because like I said, everything is public. And I have no problem talking about public stuff that people make public because that's the industry that we're in. It comes with the territory. Good criticism, bad criticism, everything, it comes with the territory. So I'm going to talk about it because this is a lesson that we all can learn from. This is no ill will towards her or Landon, as I said in my first video. But the more people express to me about Liz's past and some of the stuff that she said in her videos, especially concerning her mother and her father, this to me sounds like a very deep, hardcore child wound that needs to be revised. And if I was working with her one-on-one as a manifestation coach, I would 100% tell her, you need to revise that. Like Neville Goddard talks about. Revision to me is a main tool that people should be utilizing in the manifestation community, especially when it comes to getting a romantic partner back or manifesting a new romantic partner. It sounds like to me that Liz needs to really revise a lot of things around her situation with her dad and her mom, as well as just revising situations around men in general. So many people have left me comments about the way that she talks about men and how she perceives men. And pretty much 99% of the comments were negative. In my opinion, she definitely needs to revise, which also could be interpreted as EMDR. And I talked about this in one of my recent videos a couple weeks ago. People don't realize another comment that I got was people saying, oh, you don't need to heal. And I agree with that. I agree there are some people who don't need to heal and can still manifest whatever it is that they want. But those are what we call anomalies. Most people, in my opinion, they cannot get away with not really doing some deep inner work in order to manifest what they want. Most people need to do some sort of subconscious healing, in my opinion. And that's exactly what Neville Goddard's revision technique is all about. But like I said in one of my last videos I made a couple weeks ago, people don't realize Neville Goddard's revision technique is the same thing basically as EMDR. If you look up how EMDR works, it's basically Neville Goddard's revision technique. Neville, in my opinion, didn't explain the revision technique in great detail, but he explained it well enough to where people could do it and apply it. But if you look at EMDR, EMDR goes into depth with exactly what to do and how to do it. And we all know EMDR is a therapy modality. It's shadow work. And so this is directly a shot at all of you Neville people out there, like I said in one of my last videos, that always religiously say that we don't need to do shadow work. We don't need to heal. Well, what do you think Neville's revision technique is? It's literally a technique to heal the past as well as change it. For most of you out there, in my opinion, until you change the story that you were telling yourself, until you change your past situations and traumas, nothing is really going to change for you in the 3D. I don't care how much you assume. Because again, all you Neville people say, oh, all you gotta do is assume. Just live in the end. I don't care how much you gotta affirm. Because again, all you people that follow robotic affirmations, y'all all say, you don't have to believe in the beginning. All you have to do is just keep affirming, and then you'll eventually believe. That's not gonna work for most people. Why? Because like I started out this video by saying 10% of the time, you're doing a technique, whatever the technique is, affirming or assuming. And then the other 90% of the time, the other 80% of the time, you're moving throughout your day in lack. You're moving throughout your day with the awareness of whatever I want is not here yet. And that is the dominant thought. Why does it work that way? The great Emil Quay said it best. Your imagination will override your willpower every time. You cannot, in a sense, necessarily will things into your existence or assume things into your existence because your imagination is going to override that, or your subconscious beliefs are going to override that. And this is exactly what potentially happened with the Wizard Liz. In the 3D, the Wizard Liz said, yes, there are good men. But in her imagination, aka the subconscious mind, which is what really matters, her dominant thoughts were men are trash, men cheat, all of the above. And that was most likely the dominant state that she was walking throughout her entire days imagining or thinking about internally. She wasn't saying the affirmation out loud, but internally, subconsciously, imagination-wise, she had gotten so used to saying and thinking that way throughout the years that it really became a subconscious belief, and it looks like it backfired. A lot of you guys gotta remember, it's not the technique that matters. It's your predominant state of being that matters. It's your predominant thoughts that matter. It's the internal conversations that you have with yourself when nobody's around, that nobody can hear. Neville and Emil Quay even talked about vain repetition being pointless when doing it the wrong way. Yes, vain repetition can work for some, but for most, vain repetition is not the way to go. There's always an easier, better way that suits you personally. And that starts with knowing yourself, and if you need help, listening to the right people. See, the bad thing about listening to people like Liz or some of these other dating coaches or LOA coaches or whatever the case, they treat relationships as transactional. They treat relationships like a business. I had multiple people leave comments talking about Liz and how she was very materialistic, it seems. Even on her social media saying, how are you going to do me like this? Spend $1 million on me, write a book about me, and still treat me this way. Newsflash, Liz. Just because somebody spends $1 million on you, don't mean they're going to love you and treat you the right way. This is why some of y'all out here gotta be smart with who you're listening to and taking advice from. Because a lot of this shiny object stuff, it sounds good, looks good, but as they say, everything that glitters ain't gold. And if it ain't gold, it damn sure ain't diamonds. But like I said in my last video, I wish Liz and Landon all the best. I hope y'all figure this thing out. As always, if y'all would like to work with me, my contact is in the description below. Until next time, it's your boy!